What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the second lesson of learning the number system. This is lesson number 2, scale application for keys. This is where we start applying the major scale to the actual number system, start putting it all together, start piecing it together, and starting to get the foundation of what all this is. So as we discussed, just a small recap of our last lesson, we covered the major scale pattern, which is root, whole step, half, whole step, whole step, whole step, half, and you already know what it is. Everybody starts this in C, so we will do the same. Let's just assume we are in C, and let's follow this pattern. We have root, whole step, which puts us to D, whole step, which puts us to E, half, which puts us to F. If I can draw this F, my lord. Whole step, which puts us to G, whole step, which puts us to A, whole step, which puts us to B, and half step, which puts us back at our root, or otherwise known as the tonic, our starting place. We are back at C once again. This lesson, we're going to start to actually apply these things. At the end of last lesson, I remember kind of tapping on the number system and starting to get that all put together, and I had made the comment that our major chord is made up of the first, the third, and the fifth note of our major scale. Okay? Anytime you're playing your major chord, this is what your fingers are on. They are on the first, which 9 times out of 10 is your thumb. Your thumb will be on the first note of the scale. Your middle finger, some people do index, will be on the third note of the scale, and either your ring finger or your pinky will be on the fifth note of the scale. This is the shortest way to knowing where your 1, 3, and 5 are. If you are on a root position major chord, the key that you're in, your fingers are on a 1, 3, and 5. Automatically, those 3 numbers are out of the way and you know exactly where they are. But right now we're going to dig into some more of these other numbers. As we know, the second step of our major scale is this first whole step, and that leads us to our 2. That is where our 2 is. And this is always the case. Your 2 will always be a whole step up from your 1, regardless of where you start. If I was to start, let's just say in F sharp, say I was to start here, my 2 would automatically be whatever is a whole step up. It would be this A flat. Seems as though, like we said in our first lesson, the black keys, neighboring black keys, are always a whole step apart. So that next black key would be my whole step up from F sharp would be A flat. So that's exactly where our 2 would be. But once again, we're back to C. This is our 1, 2, our 3, and our 5. So, okay, where's that missing 4 that we're not seeing? Your 4 will always be a half step. This first half step that we deal with in the beginning half of our pattern here is where we will find our 4. Your second finger of your major chord, where that middle finger lies, regardless of where you are, the 4 of your scale will be a half step up from whatever that note is. We're in C, and the third note of the C major scale is E. So a half step up from E, of course, is F. So F is the 4 of the C major scale. Make sense? Great, let's move on. So we're at the 5, and that puts us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That puts us here, so we have 2 more whole steps and a half. So 2 more whole steps. Whole step up from where my pinky is going to be my 6. So A being the 6, and we go a whole step from there. we've conquered this first, or I say this second whole step. We have one more, and that puts us at our 7. 6 and 7 are a whole step apart. There we are. And now, in order to finish things out, we have to have a half step to bring us back to C. If you've noticed, just want to highlight this so we all have an understanding. From 3 to 4 and from 6 to 7, from 3 to 4 and from 7 to 8 are half steps. Once again, that's 3 to 4 and that is 7 to 8. Between those two are a half step interval. Okay, these are the only two places in the major scale that we find half step intervals. Everything else is whole steps. One more thing I do want to point out before we move any deeper into this is I was teaching a student not too long here back, and I noticed this, that if you split the major scale into halves of 4, you will find that it is one pattern repeated twice. I will demonstrate. So we have root, whole step, half. Okay? Let's break that into the first half. Okay? If we treat this next whole step as a root, we're back at root, whole step, half. So say I was to break the C major scale into 2 halves. I would play root, whole step, half, and then I would start this pattern again a whole step up from where I am. So 1, 2, 3, 4, that's root, whole step, half. That is my first half, and I will repeat that same pattern or that same shape once again, starting a whole step up from whatever that 4th note is. We begin at the 5. So we have root, let's say it's a root, whole step, and we're back at another half to complete this out. Just one of those cool things that I figured would really help, really connect the dots for us as we dive into this. But if you are ever going through your major scales and wanting to dig deeper into that, split it into 2 halves. This really helps when you're dealing with your flats, black keys, anything of that nature. Very quickly before we move on, I will demonstrate this very quickly, what I mean by repeating the shape. And we're gonna do this with E flat. We're gonna do this with E flat. E flat being the second of the group of 2 black keys. This is where we are. Okay, so root, that's done. Whole step from E flat would be F, that's done. So this is E flat, F, another whole step, we're at G, and then a half, we're at A flat. If I was to draw a line between these 2 points, you would see almost this shape here. That's what it would look like, okay? So we have our root here, we have this whole step, then we have another whole step, and then we have this slight right here. If I repeat this shape, starting from a whole step up, these are the first 4. This is 1, 2, 3, and 4. This is the first 4 of this segment. If we split this up and we start this pattern again on the 5, which is a whole step from the 4, we start here. This is our 5, which is B flat. That's our first whole step. Then we have another whole step, which leads us to B flat to C. That is our 6. Another whole step from C to D, which leads us to our 7. That's out of the way. And then we, of course, we have this half step again like we finished out in the first half, whole step, half, whole step, half. Boom, we are back at E flat. And we're done. And here we are, we still have this same shape. Are we seeing the identical shape here? This is where shapes get really, really important and very integral into really familiarizing our way around the number system. Thinking less the name of the chord, the name of the notes, and rather the shapes to help us navigate and move around the major scale much quicker in a much more efficient way. So once again, that's E flat. I'm going to try to erase all this quickly as to not take up your time. It's super hard drawing all this and keeping the piano and not having to draw it a million times, which would make the video much longer. But for sake of time, I'm doing my best to not have to draw everything over and over and over and over again. But there we are. So we have a 1, we have a 5. Say we're back in C. We have C here. You play your major, pinky is on G, but don't think of it that way. Think of it as thumb, pinky, 1, 5. Thumb, pinky, 1, 5. I'm gonna write that over here just for reference. Thumb, pinky, 1, 5. And this is another one of our musicians. This is our 1, 5 as we're dealing with. Anytime I'm getting into the number system, regardless of the key, my 1 and my 5 are the first things that I identify. Everything else is based off and around these two. And in every song, just about every song, your 5 will lead back to your 1. So you really have to know where these two are. They are a lot of times played very close when it comes to chord progressions. And we'll get into that a little bit more in the third lesson, dealing with common chord progressions and common shapes. And I really wanted to dig into this. Once again, play your major scale. This is some homework for y'all. I want you to go sit down at a piano and pick anywhere randomly on the piano as a starting point. And I want you to go through this pattern one interval at a time. One interval at a time as you go through. And once you've identified your major scale, after that, I want you to identify your major chord, whatever key you're in. So for your homework, first step, identify the scale. 2, identify the root chord. And from there, once you identify where that root chord is, we have C, E, G here. We have 1, 3, 5. Once you dig into and really establish where your 1, 3, and 5 is, everything else goes, I promise you, it goes really smoothly from there. But this pretty much wraps up this lesson. Can't wait to see you in the next one. Next one will be chord progressions, common chord progressions, in which your number system really helps you navigate these chord progressions in these songs. Chord progressions and shapes is what our next one will be in. But tune in, and we can't wait to see you in the next one.